Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome to the last in our series, our Saudi Shakedown series.
And a Merry Christmas to everyone.
Yes.
As you can see, we are in trying Christmas colours here.
Sort of.
Yeah.
We hope you enjoy the video. We went to, as you know, we went to Saudi to see, mainly to test the van, but also to Saudi because it was something new for us. And as it's also opened up as a new tourist destination.
It's only about in the last 2 or 3 years that we actually have been able to go into Saudi as tourists, and that the borders have become easier to cross.
Yes, yeah.
I must say the border, apart from our visa issues, they were actually very, very friendly.
Yes, well, once we got all the paperwork sorted out,
they were very friendly.
They were very friendly and quite amenable to us and quite helpful. Yeah, but as a tourist destination, I think there's still a long way to go. Especially we did it with a road trip. I think there are 8 really good sites to see in Saudi. And the problem is, to see them, you will drive about 11,000 kilometers. So it's not really a tourist destination for a road trip. It's somewhere you would fly in and fly to different places.
And it's quite tricky. We don't have a 4x4. We have driven lots of 4x4, having lived in this country.
The van is not 4x4.
Yeah. And we just find that if you have a 4x4, it's more manageable because you can get off the road more easily. But in the van, it was really difficult. Often the road was on a, what would you call it?
A camber.
Camber. And then if you come down it at the bottom of the camber, then you'd have soft sand. So there were often places where you literally could not stop. And also there were no lay-bys that you could just stop and have a rest. I don't know how the truck drivers do it, quite honestly, but anyway, they obviously geared for it. We did enjoy the sights that we saw. Abha was really beautiful, except for the monkeys that were a bit of a nuisance.
And the altitude.
And the altitude,
me,
So John had problems with the altitude, and we wanted to test the diesel heater, but we weren't sure if he wasn't feeling well because of the diesel fumes or the altitude. So we switched the diesel heater off. So we still need to try that out, which we do have some mountains in the UAE that will get cold enough now. So we'll give that a test.
We'll try that in the next week or so.
Also, just finding camping spots. Again, there's not much information out at the moment. The interesting thing, though, is that we are now on a new overlanding Middle East Facebook group, and there are loads of people coming through Saudi and into Abu Dhabi, which we didn't realize before.
But they're really just using Saudi as transit to get through. We haven't met anybody who's actually toured Saudi yet.
Yeah. Well, I think once they've gone through Iraq and Kuwait and they get to Saudi, they've actually had enough desert.
And from our point of view, we've lived in the UAE for a long time now, and so we've seen all the sites here, which is really a condensed version of Saudi. Saudi is the same as most of the rest of the Middle East, a lot of sand, a lot of desert, but it's a lot more spread out. And so because we've seen similar sites here in the UAE, it didn't have much of appeal to us to go and see the empty quarter. We can drive into the empty quarter here. So looking at the different potential sites, there wasn't much different to appeal to us having come from the UAE.
Yeah, I think for a foreigner it would be really exciting. But then again, I would say rather come to the UAE, although then it's different.
Come to the UAE, especially if you're in a van. If we've seen 1 or 2 vans which are 4x4s. The problem is they're not duning 4x4s. You really need a Land Cruiser or something like that for the desert, the sand desert. and for driving around on dunes. So,
Just on an aside, having watched the videos and having had some feedback from people, I do realize that a lot of it was really noisy and difficult to hear me. I'm hoping that in future most of the footage won't be taken driving like we did in Saudi, and also I realize now that it would possibly be better to do voiceover. So apologies for the sound quality of that. I am very aware of that, and in our next trips to Europe I will definitely try and improve on that.
and thanks for the feedback.
Yes.
So we hope you enjoy the video. And
Oh, just as an aside again, sorry. So this video is just the last trip coming back to Abu Dhabi, and at the end of it we've got a quick walkthrough of the van and also the problems that we had. Generally we are very happy with it. I'm very happy with it. I find it quite spacious, and yeah, it's a nice home.
Okay. Enough waffle now.
Okay.
Let's get on with the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe and like, and again, give us your comments. Any suggestions you've seen in the videos for improvements, we're always open to it. Thanks very much, and catch you on the next one.
Goodbye. The area of Wadi Ad-Dawasir where we stayed is very interesting. As you can see from the satellite photo, it's basically a lot of green circular fields that cultivate grass for the camels. It was very nice to see all these areas of really, really bright green grass. It is then cut and harvested and then put on trucks and then delivered to the various camel farms. And this area apparently is also very famous for the camels that are bred there. The interesting thing about the camels is that their color is generally white and black, something which we have not seen in the UAE. In the UAE it's more sandy colored. The camels also seem to be quite a lot smaller. So the whole area was really interesting for us to see, and we had a very good time staying there. It looks like a fairly new garage. A lot of the shops are still stocking up with things. It looks newly painted, it's really big. It looks as if there's space for workshops. This is the mosque here. There's the mosque tower. So a very modern mosque. We think that might be accommodation, because it really is still in the middle of nowhere. Over there is a little coffee shop selling coffee, and I didn't really go and have a look, but it smells as if they were selling food. This then is the ladies' toilet, and it has a mosque or a prayer area inside. I must say it's been one of the clean ones that I've been to. The prayer areas in there, so I won't show that. And then you have your normal toilet, and then these are the Arabic toilets.
Direction.
John and I quite enjoy doing geocaching. If you want to know about it, I'll put the link up so you can look it up. But it's basically like a treasure hunt all around the world. People leave geocaches around, and then you find it and you log it in a book. It's quite fun because it takes you off the beaten track. This is the first one we're doing in Saudi. In the south there were no geocaches that were on the website. Closer to Riyadh there are a lot. And this is the first one that we can do on our way to Riyadh.
We go along that road.
they can be very frustrating sometimes if you can't find it. So we've arrived at the point. These are actually dried up lakes. This is on the road to Riyadh. What you see in the front there is a resort which was never finished. So you can't really see the lakes from here, but when we were driving we could see them. So we're going to have a little bit of a look. What are we looking for? Magnetic something. On a pole, I think. And I'm the one that found it, but I won't show you where. This is what it is. So if you give me that stuff, you can open it. You can see what's inside.
It'll be just a log.
Little piece of paper, so we just have to write the date and who we are on it. Just getting a pen. When was the last time found?
12th of November.
Oh, that's not too Thankfully this one was very easy and quick. The worst is when it's under a rock. You spend half an hour looking under every single rock that you can find. Sometimes you can find it, sometimes you can't. It can be incredibly frustrating. But this one was really easy.
These are the ones we like.
Yeah, we like
because it gets us to see the places and you don't spend hours wasting the time just searching. For us, the idea is not to spend hours searching, but to see different places around the world.
And it certainly has brought us to,
yes,
to places that you don't know about. We are now in the city of Kaj, I think it is. And just seeing this very big mosque, which is actually very similar looking to the ones that you find in Istanbul, in Turkey. We've seen. Again, a very big place. We've got McDonald's, we've got Starbucks, we saw Lulu hypermarket, and H&M, so red tag. Just in the distance there, which I might have missed now, are the dairy farms. You can smell it as well. This is Al Marai country, Al Marai. We get in the UAE as well, it's all dairy products. Here, there you can see the cows. So it's quite interesting for us to see where this comes from. So earlier on we went past a kind of office block with all the Al Marai trucks. I don't think we're going to camp here tonight because it does smell quite a bit. Battled to find a place to sleep last night. We eventually came to, it looks like this is the last truck stop before we get to the border. It's not the greatest place, but we got here during the night, so and we just really just slept here. It's a very, very busy place for the truckers. We just went round the back where it's quieter. So these trucks are from Saudi, they're from Dubai, they're obviously all on the way to the Saudi UAE border. Yeah, last night we drove about 60 kilometers extra to find this place. We found a couple of truck stops on the way, but they were all packed, and we didn't want to sleep with the noise, and we knew that this was the last one, so we really had to do it. It was too far to drive to the border still, especially at night, but we had a peaceful night. We're just filling up with our very cheap diesel, which is 63 fills per litre. For petrol, it's 2 real something or other as well. So it's for diesel, it's really, really cheap. Here you've got your Almarai truck. We passed those yesterday, the farms. That was the other problem, is that there were a couple of truck stops around there, but it stank so much that we just couldn't bear the smell. And then we actually passed, we think, some oil refineries which also stank to high heaven. So as I say, it was a bit of a battle to get here. But anyway, we're going to the border now, and then we're going to stay at Al Sila for a few days. This is about 200, it was 188 I think. Yeah. Kilometers of straight. Which is nothing different to many of the other roads, which were also straight.
Not as long as this.
With side curves. Long, but with a few curves. There you go.
It's drawn with a ruler on the map.
Yeah. But we've got a beach way. So it's time to have a little bit of a look at the van. Just hold your coffee up. So every morning I make a cup of coffee, which we have to go. John's got his mobile here with the map on it. We've got a dash cam, which hopefully I'll be able to use for footage. We've got a, what is this thing called? Bluetooth player for music. So we actually haven't played much music. I don't know, especially when the roads are hectic, we don't like to have too much music. I've got my coffee here in a little holder. My buyer is in here for when I need it. And the buyer is this black covering for the ladies that they wear in Saudi. So every time I went to the shops, I had it. We've got a very nice table. We put our snacks on, or sometimes our phone. We just work really, really well there. What else have we got? Rear view camera, reversing camera, just so that when you reverse we can see what's going on, and also for John now to see what's behind him. Don't you look at it? Okay. We've got the radio, and that's the front of the cab.
Those hunched shoulders make it look cold.
going from Al Salah, which is just the side of the Saudi border. It is windy as anything and sandstorm. This is just welcome back to the desert.
This is sand, not hot.
So, and it's just as well we decided not to stay next to Al Salah because it would have been a little bit miserable sitting in a van in this wind and sand. The van is nearly finished. We just have to do a couple of things still to fix the inside, but this is just a quick show. So we have our bed, which is really comfortable. It's an IKEA bed, which we've managed to squash into this area here. So the area that we have is 180 centimeters by 180 centimeters. Then this we had made specially so that we can sit on the bed and lean against that side and keep the back doors open if we like. Otherwise we will be sleeping lengthwise. And then you can see at the back there we've got our reading lights. We both have a little shelf that we can put our things in. Here we have our board with all our switches on, so we can see how much water we have, how much grey water we have, our voltage. I'm very happy with the size of our cupboards. We just need to organize them. So I have recently bought these boxes that we can stack on top of each other of various sizes, and John is still going to put in a shelf about 3/4 up. Then we have our lounge area. The sofa is relatively comfortable. It's a little bit hard and it works for me. As I've said in the video that we made of it, it's a little bit high, but if I put a footstool down it's fine. Very, very nice feature is our table, which we can use in various places. It can also move into between where we are sitting, so we can put snacks and our phones and things on while we're driving. The shower is, it can pull out and we can put the shower curtain up. That is improving as we're figuring out how to use it. It's still not the best, but for the purposes that we need it, it works enough. We have some storage under the sofa seats. The problem is we have the diesel heater there as well, so space is not that much, and we also have to make sure that it's something that can get a little bit warm and that we can store there. So like food is not a good idea, but maybe some clothing or something like that we should be able to put in there. Then we've added this set of little cupboard, and the nice thing about it is it has a big drawer, so we can put shoes in there, and those then will be out of the way. At the moment, my problem with the garage is that although there is a lot of space in the front, because the garage pulls out, if I put anything, like I have this backpack here, if I put this here, it actually gets caught on the rails going out. So John has to build sides on it, so whatever I put in the middle here will be contained. The cupboards are, or the drawers are of a very nice size. So at the top I have toiletries and our shower. In the next drawer I have all my cutlery. And this drawer is really very nice because I can fit my pots and pans, but because it's quite high, any high bottles I can put in there as well that I can't put anywhere else. And then there's space underneath here for a dustbin And I've got a box underneath that I can put food in. The fridge is of a very nice size as well. I was a bit worried initially that it would be too small. But I've got containers that I can put in here, so I can actually fit in quite a lot. It also has a little deep freeze. And having used it now, it's got ample space for my food. Then my kitchen cupboard is very nice. Again, it has lots of space. It has a press stud in which locks it, which I actually need on the cupboards, other cupboards as well. Because these cupboards open quite easily, especially if we're going over bumpy roads, and then everything falls onto the bed. So one, if I organize the insides a bit better, but if we can get press studs on that, that will also work a lot better. And then one other very nice feature is our flip table, which when we put it up, we can turn this chair around, and then I can use that as my workstation.
Which means I've got to crawl underneath here
Yes.
to get in and out.
Yeah. The main thing we still have to do is we still have to put carpeting everywhere to cover that, but that's not on our list of priorities, and we have to just close the door a bit. And we still have to fix this door with paneling
Yeah.
and foam.
Yeah.
That's we definitely have to do before we go, but the carpeting we can do on the road. And John will take over from here to say what still needs fixing.
Well, the problem is I don't know what you've said.
I haven't said anything about the fixings. I've just shown the van.
Okay, well, the shelves, have you mentioned them?
Yeah, the
Okay,
shelves.
so there's shelves. Well, let's start in front here. The things we need to do here is the dash cam is at the moment is connected by the cigarette lighter here. Now I want to wire that into the system behind, so because this plug is becoming a little bit loose and iffy, so I want to put that in so it's permanently wired in. We've added a steering lock there, which you can't see because of the angle that Hanneke is at. There we go, now you can see it. We still need to install security locks on the doors. So I've got a lock for this door and for the two cab doors, which will be totally independent of the locking system of the van. Those will be hook locks. The thing I still need to do is I have put in a voltage stabilizer for the lights for the back here, but I actually need to also do something for the bedroom lights. I may also look at replacing these lights because at the moment they're working on 6 volts, and at night you can see that there's a slight dimness in them compared to the full 12 volts that the back ones have. But when I put 12 volts on these, they're not working properly. I suspect it's because of the voltage fluctuations that we've had. So
Can I just, talking about voltage, so I am using an induction cooker, and I had a 2-plate induction cooker, but somehow there wasn't enough power for those. So
and also it takes a lot of extra space here.
And I found that because I only could work with one, I managed to cope with that. So we've actually bought ourselves a smaller induction cooker,
A single plate.
and that then will live in this little gap here between the garage and the main.
The glue is coming loose on the beading down here, this beading, so we need to patch that up, and the beading at the door. The other problem we had was the shower and the toilet were not draining easily, and that is because I had used a flexible pipe which was going up and down, and so there were airlocks in it. So I've now replaced that with a solid straight piece of pipe. I've used PPR pipe because it's thicker and it has a bit of a heat resistance to it, and so the drainage is working a lot better now, and that goes straight into the grey water tank. Okay, I'm sure you've seen that the garage does slide out. These sliders actually were very expensive sliders, but got them from China, and unfortunately the tolerance and that is not very good on them. So these latches have now worn down through the vibration while we're driving, and so actually do not catch anymore while when they're put in. So what I've done is I've actually drilled a hole right through the slide. I found a reasonable spot and drilled a hole right through there, and before we travel I now have to lock them, and to do that, putting that bolt right through there and bolting this on. The other thing which we found on the road, and even now with the van, is the van tilts forwards. There's a slight lean forward, so from a drainage point of view, and that we need to raise the front wheels. So I have some blocks here which I use for chocks.
Just take them out.
So it's a sort of 1 inch thick block of wood, and so I'm going to get some more to put in here, so that we have a decent, be able to adjust it. Take this out for now. Other thing which we've done, looking here, is I've built a holder for the table. If I take the table out, you will see that it's been damaged because of this bolt here. So we do have another table which we will take with us, and that now sits in there, so it will be a bit more protected and easier to get to, because the previous problem was, because it was loose, it was then tied to the bicycles, and meant if we wanted to use it we had to untie everything. Hanneke's mentioned the side here. You've mentioned the barricade that I have to do for shipping.
No.
Okay. If we open this up, you will see this is the bulkhead which goes up against the toilet and wash basin. So I now have to extend that up to the top here so that we can lock everything in the back when we do our shipping.
And then just from my side, won't you just take the curtain? I was a little bit concerned about the flimsiness of the curtain. Won't you just pull it out? There, I'm trying to get it. So you can see the bottom's caught onto the garage a couple of times. So I'm now going to just cut it over here, and then I'm going to sew another solid piece of material onto that, so that doesn't get damaged. So we'll still have our mosquito netting at the top, but at least the bottom will be a little bit more hard wearing. We didn't use the deck because we were actually driving most of the time through Saudi. Here you can see the night light that John's put on for me, and I think that's it. Yeah.